Welcome to the Affirm Wellness Podcast, where we will explore the many facets of wellness. In each session, we'll dive into inspiring stories, give expert tips, and practical advice to help you live a healthier, more fulfilling life. Today, we are going to have a conversation with Bubemi Uwafo, our very own Affirm Wellness co-host and author of Peace Begins Within, The Healing Power of Self-Love. Life happens, now what? From emotional numbness to emotional freedom, a self-awareness guided journal, and the Vision Box workbook to explore the inspiration behind her books, the writing process, and what's next. Bubemi, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty well. I came into some realization about some things that are related to my vision for myself this year and been able to process through it with grace and compassion. So I'm in a pretty good headspace today, but it has been a challenge from the beginning of the year with all the noise going on politically and just in general. It's a lot of noise going on and just trying to keep myself away from the noise. I told myself that March was my new year because I just needed to mentally rest and just take care of myself and focus on what is important to me.
Absolutely. A lot of good points there. So when you say that March is your new year, that kind of means that you eased into the year at your own pace, took some time to prepare for just kind of hitting the gas and getting some things going with your personal goals.
Yes, definitely.
Makes a lot of sense.
How are you feeling today, Deshauna?
I'm feeling motivated, empowered to work hard and just be diligent about my mental health and physical health this year. So a lot going on for sure. I can agree with you on that. But I'm not going to get distracted. I'm really going to use what's going on right now as a catalyst for me to stay hyper-focused on my goals and what I need to do to be successful this year.
Give you that momentum.
Absolutely. Giving me the momentum, encouraging people, to do the exact same thing. Stay focused on your physical journey, your mental journey, because you're going to need a lot of mental fitness to withstand a lot of the things that are going on right now.
That's so true. And I know that one thing you don't play about is your physical fitness.
Not at all. Not at all.
Because you need that exertion.
Exactly. Yes. It's directly tied to my mental health. And, again, with so many things going on personally and professionally, I just have to make sure that I'm mentally and physically strong.
Definitely.
The quote for today's session: we are not limited by our abilities, but by our vision. So let's get into it. Bubemi, what inspired you to write these books? Was there like a specific moment or experience that sparked the idea?
That's a great question, Deshauna. I would say one of the inspiration for writing the books that I wrote is my experience as a therapist and just kind of seeing the different challenges that the clients that I serve have. And I have a variety of clients that I've worked with in my career, from, very successful, very driven, very self-aware clients to clients that are, have a lot of trauma, have specific, issues and things that they came to therapy for. And so what I did was kind of gather some of the themes that I've seen in therapy and ways that I've supported people and put it in different books to kind of help support people that might not go to therapy, as well as people that are in therapy, but just need some guidance in kind of working through some of the issues in therapy. And so just kind of spelling out simple, to me, they're simple because I'm a therapist, but just making therapy-based solutions simple for, the everyday person. And so that's the goal. That was the goal of having the book, is kind of a self-help book for the everyday person that utilizes information that's from a viewpoint of a therapist. And so it's kind of like I'm providing self-help, but from a therapist perspective. Like, these are some things that you should think about. These are some things that might be impacting you and causing some barriers in your life and accomplishing your goals. These are, some areas of growth that might be important if you want to get to this place. And so it just spells out different things by asking different questions and giving different information. And so that was the inspiration behind that, is just, I want to serve my community and educate the community about mental health.
Absolutely. And kind of thinking about the different themes in the books, what are some of the similarities and what are some of the differences in the three?
The intention of the 3 book is to connect with each other. And you can start reading Peace Begins Within, The Healing Power of Self-Love, then go to Vision Box book, then go to Life Happens Now What, from emotional numbness to emotional freedom, you can go through the books and kind of see different themes in the books. And once you kind of deal with some of the things in one book, it helps you deal with another thing in the other book and helps you to deal with another thing in different books. So the goal was to take information from this book and utilize it in this book, and take information from that book and utilize it in that book. So all the information in the book kind of connect to each other. And so it just kind of like help with the well-roundedness of kind of like the person that you want to be. Like the Vision Box book focuses on accomplishing goals. But in order to accomplish goals, you have to do that self-work, with that self-esteem work, that self-love work. Because if you do accomplish goals, sometimes there are big barriers that come that are a reflection of your self-love and the way that you take care of yourself and your self-compassion, your internal dialogue and things like that, that kind of impact you working through your vision. And then A Life Happens Now What book talks a lot about traumatic things that happen to you that kind of keep us stuck. And so those things that maybe you never knew was an issue that you went through, kind of like divorce or a loss of something, illnesses, different things that kind of impact you that you don't really recognize that impact you, kind of recognizing that, put in words to that so that you can work through those issues can also help with accomplishing your goals. Because once you tackle those areas, they become less of a barrier for you accomplishing your goals. So I would say that's what the 3 books have that are similar. And the difference is just basically they're targeting different topics at one time, because sometimes too much information can be overwhelming. So I separated them. So this is about self-love because I wanted it to be bite-sized where you can eat it up and process the information very bite-sized. And so self-love is about something. Let me focus on this self-love information here. Let me focus on this trauma-related information here, from emotional numbness to emotional freedom. And then let me focus on accomplishing my goals over here. So it just gives you that ability to focus on things individually and not be so overwhelmed. And so that's the reason I separated the books, because it could have been one book, but I didn't want it to be one book. I wanted to separate it to just kind of give people the opportunity to tackle one thing at a time.
Yeah, it's fair to say that it's challenging enough to unpack those things, unpack trauma, unpack different experiences from relationships and work. It's overwhelming. So I think that I do really love that approach with kind of breaking it down so that it's easy, it's simplistic, a little easier to kind of take in, right? And then you can kind of work on it over time through activities, through reading the information and things of that nature. And so I do appreciate that you can kind of start with any of the workbooks. You can start kind of anywhere you want, but I guess to kind of bring it home a little bit, it is important sometimes to figure out where we're stuck, because we get a lot of people personally and professionally that say, I want to work on these goals, I want to do different things in life, but they feel stuck because of different traumas, different experiences that they had that they've never dealt with before. And so doing self-guided workbooks and journaling and things of that nature can kind of help them at least take the first step to unpacking those things so that they can release some things and kind of get unstuck.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it also may require more work, right? Like realizing that there are some things that you've kind of uncovered or unpacked with your guided journaling and things of that nature that you may need to seek professional help with.
Definitely.
Were there any challenges that you faced with writing the books?
I think with anything, there are challenges that come and that you face. I remember the first book that I wrote, there was a lot of cognitive distortions related to people receiving the book and recognizing that, for me, I'm a therapist. So information I was putting in the book is information that it's second nature to me. I know all this information. I'm an expert in this area. However, when you're writing something, you're just thinking, well, are people going to receive it? Because it's information that is normal to me. So is it going to be normal to other people? It's not a big deal. So I realized information that I know and expertise that I have, everyone doesn't have that expertise. Everyone doesn't have that knowledge. It's just like somebody writing a book about sewing and, worried about, if people understand what sewing techniques are and things like that. And they don't. And so I had to look at my own unhealthy thoughts related to that and challenge them. And so that's one of the challenges that I've overcome. And so just kind of being confident in myself and focusing on what I have to share and putting that information out there. And then I remember writing the chapter about loss in the book, Life Happens Now What? From emotional numbness to emotional freedom. And I was exploring my own areas of emotional numbness. And I didn't realize that I had emotional numbness related to loss until I got to that chapter because I was stuck. And so I had to be honest with myself about my own loss story. In the book, you'll have an opportunity to write your loss story and just kind of put it on paper. And so I wrote my own lost story. I didn't put it in the book because I'm not ready to share that information in that way yet. I didn't want it to fit in that type of way. So I don't mind sharing it, but I didn't want to put it in the book at this time. But I was talking about my loss related to my loss from my cousin to sickle cell. I talked about that as a child and how that impacted me. When I was a child, I lost my cousin to sickle cell and how that impacted me. And how like sometimes people don't pay attention to how children experience loss and how it stays with me till this day, losing her. And then also I talked about the loss of not having a father full time. I was raised by a single mom. I had a lot of father figures that were excellent and helped me not feel any void. But it wasn't until I got married and had my own children and then I have twin girls, and seeing my husband with my twin girls, I didn't realize how much the loss of not having a father impacted me until I saw that. I just kind of recognized, hey, I didn't have that. I didn't get to have that. And so that loss and mourning that loss was something that I had to go through. And I would be honest with you guys, I was angry at one point. I didn't want to talk to my dad. I was just like annoyed with him. And so I had to work through those issues. I've forgiven him, but just kind of recognizing that loss and working through it helped me kind of finish the rest of the book because I was stuck and I just had to be honest with myself. And that's one of the key things. Life Happened Now, what kind of focuses on is being honest with yourself. Going from emotional numbness to emotional freedom requires you to be honest with yourself and your emotions and your feelings and not being ashamed of it. And so that's what I would say was, something that I had challenges with.
Absolutely. And thank you for, being transparent and, vulnerable enough to share that. You mentioned a lot of key points there. One of the things is that, is now sharing these things and being open and transparent about it is second nature to you. Being willing to do the work comes second nature to you because you know the impact of that. And so, one of the things that I do want to highlight is that takes time. It takes a lot of, I call it HOW, a lot of honesty, open-minded, and willingness to just do the work and know that on the other side of it, right, leading up to the miracle, right, where you feel more free, more open, less burdened by some of these things is hurt. You're going to hurt. When you're unpacking these things, you're going to have questions. You're going to feel angry and things of that nature. But being willing to feel all the feels is so important so that you can get to the end. What's the end goal? Being able to kind of deal with all these things, unpack all these things and get the tools that you need to feel healthier. Yes. That requires learning over time, doing things like the self-guided journals, listening to podcasts, reading books to kind of really understand what these things are, how they impact us, and how we can kind of overcome.
Yes. So, and emotional freedom feels good. And I want everybody to feel emotionally free.
Yes.
But the trick was, I went in there thinking like I'm emotionally free and found out that there were certain areas in my life that I wasn't emotionally free. Mm-hmm. And so kind of recognizing with myself too, that now that always be mindful of those things that, are triggering and are impacting you. And so that emotional freedom piece is a big, big, big thing.
Absolutely. So how has the reception been from readers?
I've had a lot of positive receptions. A lot of people like the Vision Box workbook, the self-love workbook. A lot of times people don't know, how to explore self-love and don't really understand what self-love means. Sometimes people just feel like it's more the superficial things that are related to self-love. And in the book, it really goes a little bit deeper into the meaning of what self-love is. Self-love versus self-hate, self-love and self-compassion, as well as just understanding that self-love is not, being full of yourself or being mean to other people and putting yourself first in a way that diminishes the value of other people. That's not what self-love is. Self-love is inclusive. It's an action word. It's also something that is related to compassion and the way that you treat yourself.
Good deal. So, just, I guess, plus to learning and unpacking things that have impacted you in the past and even current experiences, you realize that sometimes the core of overcoming those things is loving yourself and being compassionate with yourself through all of the faults, all of the failures, all of those different things. As opposed to, depending on other people to provide that sense of relief for us.
Yes.
Yeah. Good deal. So for aspiring writers listening, what advice would you give them about getting published?
I would say, do your research, read other books, kind of find what your tone is. Because I know I have my own tone. I'm a type of person that I want to talk to readers. I want to engage readers. I want to hold readers accountable. So just kind of find what your tone is, do research, watch videos, just learn, and you're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. Because if you're looking for perfection, you're never going to do it. If I was looking for everything to be perfect, these books would never be published because it's never going to be perfect. Even some Amazon best readers or New York Times bestsellers and things like that still have some things that if they could, they would tweak it more and more, have different editions and things like that. So it's never going to be perfect, but just know that you're putting your heart and whatever vision that you have for the book out there. Just put yourself out there. That's what I would say. Don't think about it too much where you keep yourself from actually working through it and accomplishing it.
Sure. Get started somewhere.
Yes.
There's always going to be opportunities to stall. There's always going to be barriers and things of that nature. But if you have a dream or you have a passion for something, just get started somewhere. And also don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions for people who are already doing what you're doing,
yes.
Such as yourself, because they can kind of drop some carrots to help motivate you or help catapult you in the right direction.
Definitely.
What are some messages that you would like for readers to take from the books? What messages and lessons?
One of the messages that I would want readers to get from the book is that you're capable of working through your issues and getting to a place of self-actualization, self-awareness, and peace of mind. I'm very big on peace of mind and being able to just really learn about who you are as a person. And why that's important to me is because I know in my career as a therapist, one thing that I've learned is the importance of self-awareness, because people will try to tell you who you are. And if you're not self-aware, you could believe them. And if they're not telling you anything that's healthy and constructive, that could be very damaging for you. And so these books kind of help you explore those things about yourself and about your thinking, about the way that you see the world and your perception and things like that. And just kind of help you be more confident so that when you tackle barriers and issues in your life, you're able to do it confidently. And I want people to gain confidence in themselves. I want people to have joy and peace and be able to face life challenges with the tools that they need to overcome the things that life brings to you, because life is going to happen. It's inevitable for everyone. Life is going to happen. Things are going to happen to people. Challenges are going to happen. And the difference is what tools you have under your belt to be able to tackle those issues. And so that's what these books are for. The challenge for today's session is to go on Amazon and purchase the Vision Box book, the Peace Begins Within book, all the books by Ubemi Uwaifo, and start evaluating the goals that you have for yourself and what you want to work on and utilize those tools. And check in with Ubemi on the Affirm Wellness website. Check in with Ubemi on Instagram, on Facebook to let her know how things are going, as well as email. You can let her know how things are going so that she can give you support and stay aware of the different workshops that are coming up and sign up for those workshops virtually and in person. Thank you for joining us. Remember, wellness is not a destination, but a process, and every step you take matters. Until next time, stay grounded, stay connected, and keep prioritizing your well-being.